The day Limetown disappeared, the world was still learning how to listen. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning in October when the first calls stopped coming out of the small research community nestled in the hills of Tennessee. No distress signals, no emergency broadcasts, no final messages to loved ones on the outside. Just silence. 327 men, women, and children, gone overnight, as if the earth had simply opened its mouth and swallowed them whole. For most people, Limetown was a footnote, a strange story buried beneath election cycles and celebrity gossip. But for journalist Leah Haddock, Limetown was personal. Her uncle, Emil Haddock, had been one of its residents, a researcher, a dreamer, a man who had believed so deeply in the project being conducted inside that compound that he had uprooted his entire life to join it. He had told Leah in one of his last letters that what they were building in Limetown would change humanity forever, that people would no longer be separated by the walls of their own skulls. That loneliness, true bone-deep loneliness, would become a relic of the past. She never heard from him again. Limetown had been founded 8 years before its disappearance by a man named Oscar Totem, a neuroscientist and visionary who had spent decades studying human consciousness. The project, known internally as the Panic, centered on a radical piece of technology, a small implant no bigger than a grain of rice, inserted behind the ear. Once activated, the implant allowed its host to experience something extraordinary, the ability to hear the thoughts and feelings of every other implanted individual within a certain radius. Not words exactly, more like resonance, emotion without filter, truth without translation. Imagine knowing, with absolute certainty, that the person sitting across from you was afraid, or joyful, or in love with you. Imagine a world where deception was impossible, where empathy was not a skill you had to develop over years of painful human experience, but a biological constant, like breathing, like heartbeat, like the instinct to reach for a hand in the dark. That was Oscar Totem's dream, and for a brief, luminous time it worked. The early days of Limetown were by all accounts extraordinary. Residents described a community unlike anything they had ever experienced. Arguments dissolved before they could fester. Grief was shared in ways that made it bearable. Parents could feel the exact pitch of their child's fear and respond before a single tear fell. Couples understood each other at depths that years of marriage rarely produced. People spoke of walking through the town square and feeling, not just knowing but feeling, the warmth of 300 human lives pressing gently against the edges of their consciousness, like a chorus that never stopped singing. But the human mind was not designed to hold that much truth at once. The first signs of trouble were subtle. A researcher named Sylvia Haddock, Emil's wife, began documenting what she called bleed events, moments when the emotional signal became so overwhelmingly loud that individuals could no longer distinguish their own feelings from those of the people around them. A man named Jacob was found sitting in a field in the middle of the night weeping for a grief that was not his own. A woman named Deidre stopped speaking entirely, overwhelmed by the volume of voices she could feel pressing against the inside of her mind. Then the children started dreaming in unison. Every child in Limetown, on the same night in late September, woke screaming at exactly 3:17 in the morning. They had all dreamed the same dream, a great, spreading darkness rolling in from the edges of the world, swallowing everything it touched. They could not describe it in any other terms. They were 5 years old, and 8, and 12, and they all used the same word, coming. What happened in Limetown in those final 72 hours has never been fully explained. Investigators who arrived a week later found the buildings intact, coffee cups still warm, televisions still on, a child's drawing half finished on a kitchen table, a yellow sun, a green hill, and a row of small stick figures holding hands in a circle. Not a single body, not a single note. Just 327 lives suspended mid-breath in a place that once dared to believe that connection, pure, absolute human connection, was the most powerful force in the universe. And somewhere out in the silence that followed, Leah Haddock picked up a recorder, pressed it to her lips, and said the only words that made sense anymore. "My name is Leah Haddock, and I am looking for the people of Limetown." The truth, it turns out, does not always want to be found, but some stories demand to be told. Not because they offer answers, but because the asking is the only thing keeping us human.